What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Thank you very much for everybody who is returning. I hope you found it engaging or interesting, and hopefully you subscribed through whatever channels are available at this time. I don't know if I have iTunes or Google Play or everything up yet, but wherever you are, thank you for listening. Again, I appreciate it so much. This week, we have our guest. His name is Nick Sharp. I have known this man since 2004. I worked at Game Crazy right as he was leaving Game Crazy, so he still would come out, hang out, play a lot of games, chat, and it was a fun time hanging out with him over the summers where no customers would come in and we would just dick around and play games. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channels that are available. I don't know if I'll have iTunes or Google Play up just yet. Wherever you do find it, please rate it. Leave some comments. Give me some feedback. Let me know what's going on. And don't forget to share it with your friends. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can always send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 or at the podcast Twitter page, which is GUG Podcast. Again, that's GUG Podcast. Again, thank you so much for everybody who is listening. Couldn't appreciate it more. And without further ado, let's get started with our guest this week, Nick Sharp. As far as it goes, I've known you since like 2004. Yeah, 2004. I met you when I remember I was working. I just started Game Crazy right as you weren't, but then you were still hanging out at the store, just hanging out, bullshitting all summer and stuff like that, pretty much, right?
Oh, hell yeah. All day.
I remember that. Like, that was right. It's sad, too, because that was right when I was getting back into gaming, because that was during a certain time when skateboarding had kind of driven me away from gaming until I got a job where I kind of had to know video games. Like, I didn't even own... At the time, it was all PS2, Xbox, GameCube. I didn't own any of them when I started at Game Crazy. I only mostly got the job because I knew a little bit about games, and Nick was, Jen's brother. So I was like, that's a good in.
Score.
Can't really complain about that. So, but since then, obviously, I've moved. You stayed there. But we still chat and stuff. So it's always been fun. So, first question is always, how did you get into gaming? Like, how did that all start for you?
It all started when I was a little kid. I used to live in a cul-de-sac. And at first I thought it was just me and my siblings just, doing whatever. And when we actually got some time and the chance to actually go out, we got to meet the kids in the cul-de-sac. And these two boys, they were brothers, and we really got to know them. And they had a computer, of course, which never really got a chance to actually look at a computer growing up. But they did. They had one, and in particular, they had PC games. Ooh. So I was very curious because they started up a game, and it was some alien shooter game, and I really got enthralled. So every other time we hung out, like, can we play the video game? And it was on and off with video games with me around that time until one Christmas where my folks, they used to work over at Chrysler. I opened up one of my presents, and lo and behold, it was a Sega Genesis.
That's what's up.
Oh yeah, I was super stoked. So I whenever I get a chance or got the chance, I hooked it up. I think the first game I played on it was either Sonic 2 or Judge Dredd.
Oh my god. that's such a... I mean, I would assume Sonic 2 just because most of the Genesis back then came with a Sonic game. It was so funny because just whatever the Sonic was at the time, that was what it came with. But I love how it was either that or Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Dude, what kind of game was Judge Dredd on Genesis? What even was that? Was it just some like side-scrolling like arcade-style beat-em-up, or was it actually like... Most games back in the day were just side-scrolling beat-em-ups, but especially licensed games. That's pretty much like, it was like a factory churning just like side-scroller, beat-em-up, arcade-style games. That's like so many of those side-scrollers back in the day.
Yeah. Judge Dredd was a side-scroller shooter, and just like the movie with Sylvester Stallone, you have the specialized gun where you can get homing missiles, you can get like a machine gun, your standard fire. I think there's like another one, but I can't remember. But yeah, those modes with the gun, and you just go around and shoot inmates and fight bosses. Which one boss was a bitch, but then I found there was like a way where I can just use homing missiles, and I didn't have to jump down, and I just shoot homing missiles and just kill them. Jump down, I'm like, yeah, that's what you get, you mutated asshole.
There you go, pretty much. Like,
yeah.
So you got that and everything. So obviously, so that was pretty much your first console. Did you ever? So were you basically a Genesis kid then? Were you just kind of, some people when they grew up, they had, my neighborhood was primarily Genesis, but then you had that one kid who had the Super, and he's like, hey guys, we got Mario. And of course we're dumb kids, and we're like, no, Sonic goes fast, Sonic is fun. No, I mean, so did you were primarily Sega kid then from that point on, or did you end up getting a Super Nintendo around that time too, or eventually learned your ways of how awful Genesis was?
Well, I had a Genesis for a while. As I got older, I got to know more kids around the area that I lived in, and I was introduced to the regular Nintendo and Super Mario Brothers, which was my thing, especially like days when I was sick and I just laid in bed. I just, wake up from my drug-induced fucking head cold trauma and just pop in Super Mario Brothers 3 and just play that and, eat my chicken noodle soup in the process. And as that kept going, what else? I got introduced to the Super Nintendo finally, and another Super Mario game. Oh man,
are you talking about World?
Yes.
Yeah, the superior Mario game. It is better than Mario 3. Fight me on it if you think different. It's a better game. So you ended up, was the Genesis like your first console then, or did you end up getting got the Genesis, then eventually picked up the rest of them kind of later on down the road?
Yeah. I picked up the Genesis, and then I got the regular Nintendo. I got the Tiger Co. or I can't remember. Was those knockoff games where they move a certain way? I remember having the Power Ranger one, and then my sister had the Aladdin one.
Are you talking about those awful like LCD screens where there's only like 6 different animations of like? Are you talking about those types of things, or are you talking? Yeah. Okay, God, those things are awful. I remember having like a Mortal Kombat one, and they were just there was 4 buttons. It was like move, and then like jump or action, quote unquote, and action meant a million different things. I remember those. Those were fun, but I remember that was back before Game Boys were, the hotness back, and they were like, here's a version of Mortal Kombat, go have fun with this, kids. And of course it was awful, and there was you're like, I want to play as different characters. Now you got to play as that one bogus little character and had your awful animations and everything, so that was always fun. So like as far as it goes, so you had Genesis, you had Nintendo. Obviously you already mentioned a couple different games that kind of brought back those types of memories, Mario 3 being sick and stuff. Any other particular games that you remember fondly that like trigger something specific, like you're just like, man, I remember this with this?
Let's see. I used to Warlock. That's one game in particular, going back to the Genesis, when I picked it back up, because that was around the time, this was like a couple years later, after I got a regular Game Boy. Then I got the PS2. I picked back up Warlock, and that was another game I really got into, and I couldn't drop that game even if my life depended on it.
Why am I drawing a blank on that? What was that game?
That one was a side-scroller. You played this mystical being, and you pick up these certain spells, and certain spells either do like a full like field wipe or does damage to all characters. It was a unique game. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie on that one. It was hard, but it was fun. Because there were certain games I remember playing, because obviously when I was I started NES and then I went Genesis route, and my Genesis days though were mostly like Sonic. Of course when you got Sonic 1, then you got 2 and 3 and Knuckles and Spinball, and you got all those crazy Sonic games, and then you ended up going the route of I went Comic Zone,
The X-Men and Clone Wars were awesome on that system. I remember those games, but my gaming horizons have definitely broadened as an adult, because now I'm not just like, oh, I just want to play side scrollers, or I just want to play Mario games. Like, I at least, back in the day when you're a dumb kid, you just kind of follow the trends and figure out. But see, like that game I didn't even know about. That's awesome. Like, I'm glad that people out there weren't just stuck in the same stupid things I was, where I was just like, give me every Sonic game, give me every Mortal Kombat game, give me, I remember Mortal Kombat 3 for days. Like, yeah, just constantly staying up, just doing that. Did your siblings play with you when you were doing all this? Did you ever do any like co-op stuff with them?
We did with Contra Hardcore.
Oh, snap.
Went to a pawn shop, found that for like $5-6. I regret letting that game go to this very day. And I would always play the Wolfman with the machine gun arm, and then she would play the little robot where one of his specials was like this attack yo-yo, and it would just home in on the enemy and it'll just like knock them the fuck out. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I got your little thing. My little wolf guy had like a power punch and like a charge shot. But yeah, another game we played to death.
Yeah, I remember. It's so funny too, because I so many people I'm sure I'm going to have on this show are going to go, God, I wish I didn't get rid of that. But what did we know? We didn't know anything. Like, we didn't know that 20 years down the road, some of these games may be impossible to find, Like, it sucks, because I look back and I think, man, I got rid of certain games. Then again, the games I was into were just so vastly popular that it's not like any of them were rare or hard to find or anything like that. Like I said, I was a dumb Genesis kid, just like, give me Mortal Kombat 3. Let me just play that until my eyes bleed. So that's basically all I did. As far as it goes, where did your progression go from there? So you were like, did you continue the Genesis route where you went, please tell me you didn't go the Sega CD32X route like I did. Well,
surprisingly, I already had the 32X, but it wasn't working.
Of course it wasn't. When did those things? Like those, it was so, oh my God. The Sega tried so hard to hold on to that whole console. They're just like, we're just going to make it into Optimus Prime and just transform and just add all these things to the Genesis. God forbid, come out with a new system.
Oh yeah. What was it? I lost track here. Hold on a second. Let's see.
Sega 32X, that type of stuff. So you had 32X. And then where did you go from there?
That's when I finally got the PlayStation 2. Got that for Christmas.
Did you skip PS1 and like that type of stuff too?
Well, the funny thing is, I'm sorry, I take that back. It was actually the Nintendo 64. I actually got a PlayStation, but it wasn't working, so they took it back.
Right.
And they had no PlayStations where they got it from, so they picked up the Nintendo 64, and then that was my new addiction for God knows how long.
Right. That was the other thing too. Like I went that route where, again, you had to make a choice. It was like, where are you going to go? Are you going to go Saturn route, which no one went Saturn route? And then it was just, either your PlayStation or your 64 route. Thankfully, I went PlayStation route. And then, of course, my sister later on down the road ended up asking for a 64. So I did end up, she got the, did you ever have one of the different colored 64s, or were you just like the basic black model? Is that the one that you ended up getting?
Yeah, I got the black model. I wanted one of the multicolored ones, but wasn't that lucky of a kid to get one. So
it's so crazy because like now you don't have. I mean, you do have certain console manufacturers out there trying different things, like, so they'll have like their limited edition consoles, Xbox does it quite a bit with like, here's the Gears one, here's the Halo one. Sony does it sometimes, more in Japan, they have all their different consoles, but you don't see a manufacturer out there like, here's the console in like 5 different colors that aren't limited edition. Like, I remember they literally had them at Toys R Us. They were just like, you want blue, you want orange, you want green, whatever, here you go. Like, I remember my sister didn't end up getting hers until later on, so she ended up getting the Donkey Kong 64 bundle that had like Donkey Kong 64, green Nintendo 64, which is cool. But I mean, yeah, I remember playing Mario 64 for the first time, and that just, man, brains were exploding on little kids just seeing Mario in 3D like that. That was just, it was so awesome. I was just so happy to have that at least. Did you, what were some of the games you played on 64?
First official game I got was Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
What a good one. Holy shit.
Yes, that was my bread and butter. I devoted so much time into that game. Till this day, I still have 15 golden spiders I need to find, so I can officially say I got all of them.
Well, you know, it's only been what 20 years. You're fine. You got time.
More than enough.
Yeah, you got time. You're good. So, like, dude, the only thing that sucks about getting a game that good right from the start is like, it's almost just like you play that and then you're like, damn, games aren't as good now. Like, that's the only problem with getting like a really good game like that is, you know, then you start comparing other things to Zelda. Now you look back, obviously, like Ocarina is on people's top game ever list. Like, that's their number one game ever. So, unfortunately, my first owned game was Donkey Kong 64, which not too many people putting that on their list. That game was kind of but it's all right.
Oh yeah.
But of course, it required the expansion pack for the enhanced graphics.
Yeah, yeah, that was a trip.
That, and I remember Majora's Mask requiring that. And this sucks too because I felt so bad because there's so many games that I end up missing out on. Like, you played awesome games. Like, you played Zelda Ocarina of Time when it was relevant and awesome, and I was too busy not playing that. Like, I was just playing other stupid shit like wrestling games and dumb things that nobody. Did you ever, like, I had the conversation with Joe. Did you ever end up playing any of, like, the N64 wrestling games or, like, any of the PS1 wrestling games or anything like that from back in the day?
No. That was still, like, okay, when football games first came into my whole gaming world, I was like, I'll give one a try. And sure as shit, it was a Madden game, too.
Right.
I was like, all right, that sucked. And then PlayStation 2, those all sucked. PlayStation 3, yeah, I've never touched one for that console yet. And I won't with my PS4.
I remember, like, you know, because everybody has their hobbies that lead them to doing other things in gaming. Like, you know, for example, people were really into wrestling and then they end up buying wrestling games. I remember, for some reason, I don't know why, but I was super into wanting a game day, like NFL game day for PlayStation. That was back before Madden locked in the NFL contract. So you had 9 NFL games from all these different companies and they didn't care who the hell made them. But it was NFL game day, which was like Sony's like in-house network, like doing a football game. And for some reason, I remember asking for that one Christmas and I don't know, maybe I played like catch with my friends one day and I was like, football's cool, I want to get a game. And I ended up getting that one game, but afterwards I never got another game day game or a Madden game or anything. Did you ever have anything like that where you had hobbies that led into trying to get the game of that, or any like I remember, of course, people had the obsession with Power Rangers. So then, of course, they made a Power Rangers game. Like, did you ever have anything like that, that one hobby or thing that you remember that made you want to get the game of it so bad?
There's quite a few. I mean, the Dragon Ball games for PlayStation 2.
Of course they did.
All the Naruto games for PlayStation 2.
Dude, I remember, like, Budokai, like, you, and, like, dude, you were all about it.
Oh yeah,
so about it. Like, you were all about it. Oh my god, dude! I remember, like, that's what I miss too. Is I think back on like Game Crazy, which still is probably the best job I've ever had. Like, it was me, Bachman, and Mike. Yeah. Or Mike. No, I'm sorry, Nick and Bachman. Like, how could I? It was 3 people, and we bullshitted every day and just played stuff and made fun of customers that came in all the time, and it was so fun. And it's just, you know, I look back at certain those days. I remember the one time we tried to play a hockey game against Nick and his other friend, and apparently we just didn't know the rules of hockey because we were just breaking every rule of hockey, just trying to hit each other. I remember they were just like, no, you can't do that. You have to, that's icing. I'm like, what's icing? I just want to fucking hit somebody. I don't know what icing is. Nobody knows what icing is. Apparently they did, though, because they actually played hockey. So, obviously, you know, you doing all that has led you to gaming today. Do you think anything you played in the past, like, influenced you into what you play today, or kind of steered you clear of it? Like, do you think you ever played anything to where you got too sick of it to where you wouldn't want to play it anymore? Except for Dragon Ball Z, because God forbid you're still probably going to buy every single one of those.
Yes, that is like... Like, okay, there's one Dragon Ball Z game I won't touch, and that's Dragon Ball Z Sagas, because I rented that game. I beat it in a day, and I came back super disappointed. But I'm glad I had a free rental one game for however long. Like, just take this, get this away from me. I never want to touch this ever again.
But I mean, most of the fighting games are like that, though. I mean, that was the whole thing. Like, certain fighting games, if you actually played the fighting game story mode, you fought like 10 people, unless you were super into the characters and you wanted to play the other ones. Like, I remember a lot of fighting games were like that. Just, unless you really enjoyed the actual combat, or unless the bigger thing is if you had a friend to play against. That was the big thing. If you had a fighting game and you didn't have anybody to play with before the days of online, it got boring real quick.
Yes, it did.
Like, real fast. You could only do so much, and, before now, obviously, kids today are spoiled with the internet, so they're never alone.
Oh, my God. I wish, though, if we could take that away from them for, like, a day and take them to an arcade and, like, have a bag of quarters like how we did back in the day. I would like to see their faces like, is there online co-op? No, you just find a kid and play with them.
Those were called real life microtransactions, when you had quarters in your hand and you're like, shit, I gotta pop these in and play it. Now they don't even have that. Like, now you go to Dave & Buster's and you have a card. It's like, I'll just swipe this card. Like, nah. The one thing I will say is I remember in Rockford they have Nickel World, which I think is still there, correct?
Yes, it is.
Good for them. God damn, that place is great. And there's a place here called Castles and Coasters, and I took my brother-in-law Nick there, and it is full-fledged. Like, they have a couple stories. I think it's 2 levels. The top level is just wall-to-wall full of old-school fighting cabinets. So they have Mortal Kombat, all the Killer Instincts, all the Street Fighter games, and then like lower they have like 40 pinball machines. Like, it is such a cool place and everything. However, kids nowadays are just, worst thing is you ever go into a Dave & Buster's now and you see that the arcade games, quote unquote arcade games, are simply giant iPhone screens. That's all they are. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to an arcade lately. There's a big ass game that's just Flappy Bird, and it's just
that is so depressing.
It is real sad. Like, there's no innovation to them anymore. Like, there's Flappy Bird, and then it's iPhone games. Infinity Blade on iPhone, that's an arcade game. Fruit Ninja, where you just slice the screen. It's literally just, think like a 30-inch, not 30, maybe like 20-inch TV, and it's just, it's stupid. I'm like, this is what arcade games have come to.
It shouldn't be like that. Someone should be playing like Ultimate MK3 and like, who's this guy? Just do this maneuver. And then I was like, oh, so that's how you freeze people. And that's how you do fatalities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what it's come to now. It's kind of sad. But I will say though, however, that little piano tile game that you see on the phones where you'll see the scrolling screen and you just tap the piano tiles as they come up or whatever, the little white and black tiles, that is now a full-fledged arcade game, which I did end up beating the high score at our local arcade here in the city. So it's stupid because basically that's where my Rock Band skills have come in, because I'm Rock Band drummer, and I'm like, oh, this is just a pattern game, and I swiped a card, did it, and I broke the record right in front of everybody, and my kids got like 90 tickets and they were all psyched, and this one kid came up behind me, tried to beat it. Too bad he couldn't. He was all like, he came like 1 or 2 short from me, and I'm just like, huh, that's interesting. And I just walked away. But yeah, it's kind of sad now. Arcades now are basically just big iPhone games. It's really depressing. Like, go to a Dave & Buster's and you will not find, I guarantee you, if you go to a Dave & Buster's, you're not going to find any fighting arcades cabinets, which is depressing, because that and DDR. Those are the ones where you will just find, oh my God, look at you. You're like, DDR. You forgot about DDR, didn't you?
No, I still have my mat and I still have my DDR game.
Oh my God. For what system? PS2?
Yeah, PS2.
Did you actually end up ever going full bore and getting a metal pad, or do you have just the fabric one that slid all over everybody's floor because it never stayed put?
I have the fabric one.
Of course you do.
I did want to get the metal one, but of course,
everyone did.
Yeah.
But then they realized when they were younger that metal pad cost as much as the damn PS2, and they were like, yeah, never mind, I guess. I remember Nick had these like thicker ones, like these. Mm-hmm. It was weird. They were like, they weren't just like the thin mat that laid down that like slid all over the place, but it was almost like an inch thick pad that was like, it stayed put, but it was almost squishy. It was really weird. I remember him having those. They were almost like, halfway between like the basic one you got with the game and then like the awesome metal ones that you had and everything. It was kind of weird, but thank God he had those, because like I'm sure we would have destroyed the regular DDR stuff. So, but yeah, that was back in the day with our arcade. I remember Nickel World got a DDR machine, and that was it. That was over. Everybody would just stand there like, we're playing DDR. Nobody else played anything in that place. I remember that showing up for the first time there, and thank God for Nickel World and places like that. Like Castles and Coasters is what we have in Arizona, and thank God for places like that, man, because there should be that kind of balance. Like you should have your Dave and Buster's with your stupid Flappy Bird and iPhone games, but then you should go to, you know, show kids like, no, these are pinball games. Like this is an arcade cabinet. This is like, especially those big ones like the Marvel vs. Capcom cabinets that are just absurdly big. Like they're not like a normal cabinet. They're like way wide, and they got like the super giant like control panel. Like, yes, go with that. That's awesome. That's how it should be. So, well, yes, I mean, so as far as it goes now, like, what have you been playing lately?
Recently I've been playing Overwatch because I finally kicked my Call of Duty addiction, and that was a good thing. I've also picked up Fallout 4, which, just like in Fallout 3, I couldn't figure out which faction I want to choose, so I'm just playing random miscellaneous stuff. Of course, I have Street Fighter. I picked up Bloodborne. I haven't played through Bloodborne completely yet, but I'm preparing myself for all the rage quits.
I couldn't do that game, dude. I tried. I just, the Souls games, Souls and Bloodborne. I remember Nick brought it over here, and I was like, no, I died 3 minutes into the game. I'm getting pissed. I'm good, dude. No, I ain't got time for this shit. I'm not going to play this game.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, like I see you've been playing Overwatch. Like mostly when I see you stream, it's mostly been Overwatch. So at least, you know, games now, we at least have this variety now as we get older to be able to have like because obviously first person shooters, we had Doom back in the day, but like Call of Duty blowing up the whole, like that whole 360 PS3 like time frame was all Call of Duty. So at least, yeah, but now they're going back to World War II. Did you see that? All yes. Right. Whatever. Yes. Who cares? We're over it. It's funny. I don't know. Whatever. I'm over Call of Duty. I think I've been over it for a couple years, but well, yeah, have fun with Fallout 4 as well, because I played and beat that game recently. I had all the DLC for it. I just never got around to playing it. And I think I spent 90 hours or something in it. So, you know, yeah. And that's all the DLC though. So, I mean, without the DLC, it's probably still like 60. So you can have fun with that. So if people wanted to watch you do the streaming, where would they go do that?
Let's see. You can, I believe I have it linked to my Twitter, which is One Sharp Gamer. I also have a YouTube page, but I'm still currently working on that because I got 13 episodes in and I just kind of went on a very long hiatus. But on Twitch, I believe I'm under Sharpton24. I normally post it on my Facebook page, so you know, whenever I do decide to stream, I'll throw it out there. And I predominantly do it on Twitch. I would do it on YouTube, but that's something that I guess that's still kind of new on YouTube, because I don't see a lot of people streaming on YouTube unless it's a like someone doing a Let's Play.
Yeah, I know that they integrated it with the PS4 and everything, how you can stream straight to YouTube, which I've seen some people doing, but I mean, Twitch is kind of taken over the market. Obviously, Microsoft bought Beam, which is like a different streaming service, which now they're trying to push, but it's just, people are going to go to Twitch, so that's fine. So, definitely though, if we do want to catch you on there, at least they can go see when you're playing Overwatch, and you're probably, who are you playing as? Tracer, just shooting people? Who you play as in Overwatch?
Right now, my main person is Soldier 76, followed by my second, which is Bastion.
I'm so glad you didn't say Hanzo. I'm so glad. If you would have said Hanzo main, I would have been... I've just been like, all right, well, it's been good talking to you. No, I'm just fine. So, yeah. Well, if people want to check you out there, definitely follow him. He also has a podcast. What is the name of that podcast again?
That is a One Sharp Podcast.
Oh, how clever. It's almost like a play on your name. It's great.
Pretty much.
It's so clever. Definitely check that out. Subscribe to it. Thank you very much, Nick. I do appreciate you coming on here, recording this, and definitely we'll have you on again in the future, probably.
Awesome, most definitely. I'd be glad to do it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Welcome.
All right, so that ends this week's episode with Nick Sharp. Again, thank you, Nick. I do appreciate you being on the show. If anybody wants to follow the shenanigans he does online, feel free to follow him on Twitter at OneSharpGamer. Subscribe to his podcast, which is One Sharp Podcast, and then also follow him on Twitch, which is at Sharpton24. You will see him doing a lot of Overwatch streams, that type of stuff. If anybody out there wants to be on an episode of the show, feel free to send me a tweet at MitchPower1116, or you could also go to the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast. Again, that is GUG Podcast. Don't forget to also leave some comments and feedback. Hopefully you don't tell me you hate the show a lot. That would kind of suck. Hopefully you give me some good feedback, and that would be great too. Don't forget to share it with your friends as well. Make sure everybody out there hears it. Maybe there will be a bunch of other people that want to get on here and talk about their experiences. Again, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everybody who is listening and subscribing and leaving comments. And I'll talk to you guys next week. See ya.